Ladies and gentlemen, there are creatures among us who wear masks so intricate, so polished, that they deceive even the keenest of minds. They are grand architects of illusion, masterful manipulators of perception. They thrive not on love, nor respect, nor sincerity, but on power. Power over you. A narcissist is a creature of hunger, not for food, not for wealth, but for something far more insidious: attention. It is the air they breathe, the sustenance that fuels their grandiose self-image. Without it, they wither, they weaken, they lose their grip on the carefully constructed illusion of superiority. You see, a narcissist does not simply desire attention, they need it. As one needs water in the desert. And yet, the simplest, most effective way to bring them to their knees is also the quietest. Starve them. Imagine a performer on a grand stage, the lights beaming down, waiting for the thunderous applause that confirms their brilliance. Now imagine, just for a moment, that the audience sits in silence. No clapping, no cheers, no adoration, just nothing. That silence, that void, is unbearable. The performer falters, panic sets in, they try harder, perhaps a grander gesture, a louder proclamation, but still the silence persists. And then the horror sets in. It was never their talent that mattered, never their charm or their supposed genius. It was the reaction they could extract from others. Without it, they are nothing. That is the essence of starving a narcissist. They are not people in the traditional sense, at least not in the way you and I understand humanity. They do not exist within themselves. They exist only through the reflections they see in others. Their sense of worth, their entire identity, is pieced together from external validation. Without a steady supply of attention, whether it be admiration, fear, or even hatred, they begin to crumble, and this is where your power lies. Indifference is their poison. They can handle hatred, they can endure conflict, they even thrive on it because it keeps them relevant. They enjoy provoking, pushing, pressing buttons just to see you react. The emotional turmoil they create is, to them, proof of their significance. But what happens when you remove that? When you refuse to play the game? When their words, their insults, their manipulations no longer elicit a response? They flounder, they rage, they spiral, and eventually, they fade. This is not to say that starving them will be easy. No, quite the opposite. A narcissist, when deprived of attention, will not simply accept defeat and walk away. They will double down. They will escalate. They will test every boundary, every limit, searching desperately for a crack in your resolve. They may shift tactics, play the victim, manufacture a crisis, seek to guilt you into engagement. They may lash out, using cruel words, personal attacks, anything to force you back into their world of drama and control. But you must remain unwavering. You must recognize the pattern for what it is: a performance, a last-ditch effort to reclaim power. The moment you give in, the moment you react, you hand them exactly what they want. Even a simple sigh of frustration, a glance of anger, a whispered protest, it is all fuel to them. They do not care whether your attention is positive or negative. They care only that it exists. The key to truly starving a narcissist is detachment, not just physically, but emotionally. You must remove the part of yourself that still seeks closure, still hopes for change, still believes they will one day see the error of their ways. They won't. Not in the way you want them to. A narcissist is incapable of self-reflection in any meaningful sense. They cannot and will not acknowledge their own flaws. Their entire existence is built on the denial of such weakness. So do not wait for an apology that will never come. Do not hope for a realization that will never dawn. Do not waste your energy trying to make them understand the damage they have caused, because understanding would require accountability, and accountability is their greatest fear. Instead, walk away, withdraw your attention, let them shout into the void, let them claw for relevance, let them scheme and manipulate and try to draw you back in, and do nothing. No reaction, no explanation, no farewell speech. just silence. And in that silence, they will suffer. More than any argument could make them suffer, more than any retaliation, any revenge. Because for the first time, they will be forced to face the one thing they have spent their entire lives running from: their own insignificance. A narcissist is not merely a manipulator, they are an artist of deception, a weaver of false narratives. They twist reality not just for you, but for everyone around them, ensuring that they remain the hero, the victim, or the puppet master in every story they tell. Their power lies in the narrative they create, and their greatest weapon is your doubt. If they can make you question your own reality, your own memories, your own sanity, then they have won. But what happens when you take that power away? What happens when you control the narrative instead? To do this, you must first understand their game. A narcissist does not argue to seek the truth, they argue to win. They do not tell stories to inform, they tell stories to manipulate. And the moment you react emotionally, the moment you become entangled in their web, they have you exactly where they want you. They will twist your words, feign innocence, play the victim, or turn the conversation in circles until you are exhausted, questioning whether you are the problem. This is their battlefield, their home turf, and they are masters of it. But there is a way to dismantle their control, by refusing to play by their rules. The first step is unwavering clarity. A narcissist thrives on ambiguity. They operate in the grey areas, where they can bend reality to suit their needs. But the truth, when spoken with calm conviction, has a power they cannot corrupt. State facts, not feelings. Say what happened, not how it made you feel. Stick to the undeniable. A narcissist will try to bait you into arguments, into justifying yourself, into defending your version of events, but you must never do so. Defensiveness is a sign of weakness to them, an admission that your truth is negotiable. It is not. The next step is composure. Nothing unsettles a narcissist more than someone they cannot shake. They rely on your reactions. They need your outrage, your pain, your confusion. These are the strings that allow them to control you. But when you remain calm, when you refuse to be rattled, something extraordinary happens. The power shifts. A narcissist needs emotional chaos to thrive. Without it, they begin to unravel. They push, they prod, they provoke. But you remain steady, detached, unshaken. And that terrifies them. Another crucial element is consistency. A narcissist will tell different versions of the same story to different people, adjusting the details to suit their needs. They will lie, deny, and rewrite history as often as it takes to protect their image. Your weapon against this is unwavering consistency. Say the same thing to everyone, never waver, never contradict yourself. The more they try to twist the truth, the more their own inconsistencies will be exposed. This is where their power begins to crumble. Not because you fight them, but because you do not give them any cracks to exploit. Equally important is refusing to engage in their games. A narcissist will attempt to trap you in endless debates, gaslighting you until you doubt yourself, pushing you to react emotionally so they can turn the tables on you. The best response? None at all. Do not argue with them. Do not try to make them see reason. They do not care about reason, only control. Instead, state your truth once and walk away. Do not give them the satisfaction of a fight, because a fight is what they want. Starve them of the reaction they crave, and they will find themselves powerless. Then there is the matter of exposure. A narcissist operates best in the shadows, where their lies can flourish unnoticed. But when you control the narrative, you bring their actions into the light. You do not need to attack them directly, simply let the truth be known. Speak calmly, speak factually, and let the weight of reality do the work. A narcissist fears exposure more than anything, because their entire existence is built on illusion. The moment people begin to see through them, the moment their carefully crafted image begins to crack, they are undone. Perhaps the most satisfying part of controlling the narrative is that it forces the narcissist into a position they despise, the one with no control. They are used to dictating the story, to warping the truth to fit their needs. But when you take that power away, when you refuse to be manipulated, when you remain calm, consistent, and unwavering, they find themselves in unfamiliar territory. And in that space, they begin to crumble. Silence. Such a simple thing, yet so profoundly unsettling. It is an abyss, a void where a narcissist's worst fears reside. It is the absence of control, the erasure of their power, the dissolution of their carefully constructed illusion. To those who live for attention, silence is more than just quiet. It is a deafening scream, an unbearable mirror that forces them to see themselves without the masks they so carefully wear. A narcissist thrives on reaction. Whether it is admiration or outrage, love or fear, all they require is a response, any response. This is their oxygen, their fuel, their sustenance. When you argue, defend or explain yourself, you feed them. You are playing their game, moving on their board, reacting to their moves. But the moment you refuse to engage, the moment you become an unmoving force, something terrible happens in their world. Nothing. Nothing is a narcissist's greatest enemy. It strips them of their power, their significance, their sense of control. It forces them to confront the one thing they spend their entire existence running from, their own emptiness. They are like actors on a stage, expecting the crowd's applause, expecting the gasps, the cheers, the engagement. But what happens when the audience simply gets up and leaves? What happens when the lights fade, the curtain falls, and there is no encore? There is a unique kind of torment in silence, because it is not just the absence of sound, it is the absence of attention. A narcissist cannot stand to be ignored. They will try everything to provoke you, to push your buttons, to needle at your insecurities, to bait you into breaking that sacred, torturous quiet. They will throw insults like knives, bring up past wounds, and twist the truth to make you react. They want the fight, the drama, the back and forth. But you will give them nothing. There is power in withholding. You see, a narcissist expects chaos. They expect you to defend yourself, to cry, to plead, to prove them wrong. When you do not, when you merely meet their words with an unshaken, unreadable silence, you become something unfamiliar, something they cannot control. You become a void where they expected resistance, and that unsettles them more than any war of words ever could. Imagine them standing before you, throwing words like daggers, spinning lies like a web, waiting for you to entangle yourself. And instead you do nothing. You don't flinch. You don't fight. You simply stare, unmoved, unaffected. Do you know what happens next? They panic. They scramble. They try harder, and the harder they try, the more desperate they become. Because, my friend, the moment you stop feeding their need for attention, they are left starving. Silence is not passive. It is a weapon, honed to perfection. It forces a narcissist to sit with their own thoughts, to feel the weight of their own emptiness. It removes their power without lifting a finger. It does not mean you are weak, nor that you are surrendering. No, silence is a declaration. It says, I see you, I understand you, and you no longer have any hold over me. Let them talk, let them rage, let them drown in their own noise while you stand unmoved, and watch as they begin to realize with a slow and creeping horror that they no longer matter to you. That is the moment they unravel. A narcissist operates like a relentless tide, pushing, pulling, testing the strength of every barrier placed before them. They do not respect personal space, emotional boundaries, or the lines that define where they end and another person begins. To them, boundaries are not walls to be honored, but obstacles to be dismantled. This is where the battle begins. Not with words, not with arguments, but with an unshakable stance. A firm, unwavering presence that says, no more. When dealing with a narcissist, understand that they do not ask for permission to intrude. They walk through doors uninvited, twisting their way into your mind, your emotions, your very sense of self. They will push in small ways at first, gauging your reactions, learning your weaknesses. A slight overstep here, a guilt trip there, an innocent-seeming request that puts you in a difficult position. At first, you may not even notice. After all, they are so charming, so persuasive. Just this once, you tell yourself. But there is no such thing as just this once with a narcissist. Every inch you give is a lesson to them, proof that the barrier was never real to begin with. So you must be steel, not soft metal, not breakable glass, steel, unbending, unyielding, absolute. When you set a boundary, you do not negotiate, you do not explain, you do not justify. A narcissist will treat an explanation as an invitation to argue, a justification as a challenge to overcome. They will twist your words, exploit your kindness, wear you down with persistence. They will press against your boundaries like a river against a dam, relentless, seeking any crack, any weakness, any way through. They will feign ignorance. I didn't know that bothered you. They will play the victim. I can't believe you would do this to me. They will accuse you. You're being unreasonable, overreacting, cruel. And if all else fails, they will rage, they will manipulate. They will throw every tactic they have in an attempt to make you question yourself. A boundary is not a request. It is not a hope. It is a statement of self-respect, and it is enforced with action, not words. If a narcissist crosses a line, you do not ask them not to do it again, you show them the consequences. If they speak to you with disrespect, you end the conversation. If they violate your space, you remove yourself from theirs. If they attempt to manipulate, you refuse to engage. The power of a boundary is in its enforcement, not its declaration. They will hate this. Oh, how they will hate this, because a boundary tells them something they cannot accept. That they do not own you, that they cannot control you, that you are not theirs to mold, to shape, to bend to their will. This is agony to them. A narcissist lives in the belief that they can always get what they want with the right strategy, the right pressure, the right emotional leverage. When they find themselves against an immovable force, something inside them cracks. They will escalate, they will test you, they will push harder, trying to find the weak spot. If they cannot charm their way through, they will guilt you. If guilt fails, they will attempt to intimidate. And if that too is met with unshaken resolve, they may lash out in frustration, revealing the mask they try so hard to maintain. This moment is crucial. If you waver, if you allow fear, guilt, or second-guessing to seep in, they will see it, and they will use it. Stand firm. Let them exhaust themselves against a wall they cannot break. And then, something remarkable happens. When a narcissist realizes that a person cannot be manipulated, controlled, or weakened, they begin to lose interest. Their power comes from the ability to influence, to dominate, to command attention. When they find only resistance, only quiet certainty, only an unshakable boundary, they are left powerless. This is not just about keeping them out. This is about keeping yourself whole. Without boundaries, you will be drained, manipulated, turned into a version of yourself that exists only for their benefit. But with them, you reclaim your strength, your peace, your very sense of self. A narcissist may fight, may push, may rage against your limits, but in the end, it is not you who suffers. It is them, because while they are left floundering, searching for new ways to break through, you stand free, untouched, and untamed. Expose, but never engage. This is a principle that, when mastered, becomes one of the most potent tools in dismantling the influence of a narcissist. You see, narcissists thrive in the shadows. Their power lies not in strength, nor intelligence, nor even charm, though they often masquerade as all three, but in deception. Their ability to manipulate reality is their strongest weapon, their greatest illusion. They twist narratives, fabricate stories, and distort perceptions, all to ensure that they remain in control of how others see them, and more importantly, how they see themselves. A narcissist cannot exist without an audience, without people to believe in the image they've carefully constructed. They require admiration, validation, and unquestioning loyalty. But their greatest fear? Exposure. Not just being criticized, not just being disliked, but being truly seen for who and what they really are. Nothing terrifies them more than having their carefully woven mask torn away, leaving only the fragile, desperate creature beneath. And this is where true power lies, not in fighting them, not in screaming accusations, not in descending into their world of endless battles, but in simply illuminating the truth. The trick, however, is to reveal them without allowing yourself to be dragged into their games. This is where most people make a critical mistake. They believe that calling out a narcissist directly, exposing their lies in the heat of the moment, or confronting them head-on will bring about their downfall. But that is precisely what the narcissist wants. They want you emotional, reactive, tangled in the web of their design. They want you to fight, to defend, to struggle. Because as long as you are engaged, they still hold power over you. Instead, the art lies in exposing them with precision, not passion. You do not need to shout the truth from the rooftops. No grand declarations are necessary. The most effective way to dismantle a narcissist is through quiet, undeniable evidence. A calm recounting of facts, a simple statement of reality, delivered without anger, without malice. This is what truly shakes them. Because facts are their enemy. Their entire existence is built on lies, half-truths, and carefully crafted narratives. When you strip all of that away, what remains is something they cannot defend against, the reality of who they are. Imagine a narcissist attempting to twist a situation in their favor. They embellish, manipulate, and weave a story where they are either the hero or the victim, never the villain. But instead of engaging, instead of arguing, you present a fact, a piece of truth so simple and irrefutable that it shatters their illusion. And then you walk away. You do not argue, you do not explain, you let the weight of reality do the work for you. It is in this moment that the narcissist experiences true torture, because they are left exposed, with no chaos to hide behind, no conflict to redirect attention, no emotional outburst to use as a shield. They are left only with the truth, and the truth is something they cannot control. This method also extends beyond personal interactions. Socially, a narcissist maintains their grip on others through carefully curated impressions. But what happens when inconsistencies in their stories start to emerge? What happens when others begin to notice the patterns, the contradictions, the subtle manipulations? This is where exposure becomes truly powerful, not through direct confrontation, but through quiet, undeniable clarity. The narcissist's greatest fear is not being yelled at, insulted, or even hated. Their greatest fear is irrelevance, a loss of control over the way they are perceived. This is why it is crucial to never engage them in their arena. The moment you step into their world, the moment you fight on their terms, you have already lost. Narcissists are masters of emotional warfare. They will twist your words, manipulate your emotions, and turn any situation into a spectacle where they play the role that best serves them. But when you refuse to participate, when you reveal them and then refuse to be drawn into their storm, they have nowhere left to go. Their power dissipates, their control crumbles, and the only thing left is the reality they have spent a lifetime avoiding. There is something profoundly poetic in this approach. It is not fueled by anger, nor by a desire for revenge. It is simply a shift in awareness, a refusal to be controlled by illusion. It is understanding that the most effective way to dismantle a narcissist is to let them unravel themselves, to let the weight of truth do what no amount of fighting ever could. Because in the end, the greatest punishment for a narcissist is not confrontation, it is exposure, followed by indifference. It is watching the mask slip, knowing they can no longer deceive, and realizing that their power over you is gone. A narcissist thrives on predictability. They orchestrate their manipulations with precision, expecting you to react in the same patterns over and over again. This is their game, their theater, and they are both the director and the lead actor. But what happens when you refuse to follow the script, when you break the pattern, when you become unpredictable? Nothing unsettles a narcissist more than losing control of the dynamic they carefully constructed. They thrive on emotional responses, anger, sadness, frustration, because every reaction reinforces their power over you. It tells them they still have influence, that they can still pull your strings. When you respond in ways they did not anticipate, you shift the power dynamic entirely. Suddenly, they are no longer in control. You are. Imagine a chessboard, meticulously set. A narcissist always assumes they are several moves ahead, that they have calculated your every counter. Now, what if you flip the board over? Not out of rage, not in surrender, but simply because you refuse to play. What then? They are left with nothing but shattered expectations, scrambling to regain their footing. Their tactics rely on familiarity. They push buttons they know will trigger a reaction. They expect you to justify yourself when they twist the truth, to defend yourself when they accuse, to explain yourself when they pretend to misunderstand. But what if you do none of those things? What if instead of defending you shrug? Instead of arguing you smile? Instead of explaining, you walk away? They will be furious. They will test you, provoke you, prod at your emotions with greater intensity. But the more you disrupt their expectations, the more unstable they become. Narcissists do not handle unpredictability well. It exposes their lack of real control, their inability to adapt to a world where they are not the puppet master. Let's say they expect you to react with anger when they push your boundaries. Instead, you laugh and say, that's interesting, before walking away. They expect you to break down when they give you the silent treatment. Instead, you take it as a well-deserved moment of peace. They expect you to chase them when they withdraw. Instead, you let them go without a second thought. Every unexpected reaction forces them to reassess, to question, to struggle with the realization that their influence is slipping. Unpredictability is not about being erratic or reckless. It is about refusing to be controlled. It is about changing the rhythm of the dance so that they can no longer lead. It is calculated, deliberate, and deeply unsettling for someone who thrives on scripted interactions. Even your energy changes when you stop being predictable. A narcissist feeds off of emotional intensity. Whether it is love or hatred, devotion or despair, they want to be the center of your emotional universe. When you stop providing that, when your energy becomes calm, detached, indifferent, they begin to panic. Indifference is their greatest fear because it renders them powerless. If they cannot make you feel, they cannot control you. This is why unpredictability is such an effective strategy. It forces them to question their own tactics, to second-guess their moves. They become desperate, erratic, and in doing so they expose themselves. They may lash out more aggressively, or they may retreat entirely, searching for someone else who will play their game. Either way, you win. And that is the beauty of it. You do not need to fight, to argue, or to engage in their chaos. You simply need to be the variable they cannot account for, the equation they cannot solve. You become the mystery, the enigma, the one thing they cannot manipulate.